The show begins as Lauren Laraya du Louviert and her maid Rita Farron are both captured by bandits, and Lauren was about to be manhandled by one of them. That is, until the arrival of a large armored knight named Ark, who promptly slays them with a single swipe of his sword. Before all of this, Ark awakens in front of a tree and is left perturbed by his situation. After calming himself down, he assesses himself and his equipment and realizes that he's inside of the body of his game character Ark. Recalling that he fell asleep after playing the game, Ark tries out his wyvern/move and is left stupefied by the power behind it. Trying out magic next, Ark casts a simple fire spell that incinerates a tree. Contemplating how he's able to use magic despite his class being incapable of doing so. Ark then surmises that he's able to utilize all of the previous skills from the upgrade path of his main skill Holy Knight, which led him to believe he's super strong. Growing hungry and sadly without food or funding, Ark casts a gate spell to teleport him somewhere, but is instead teleported off a cliff he stood close by. Reflecting on how the gate spell works, Ark instead uses another spell called Dimension Move. Landing safely by a river stream, Ark takes off his helmet to drink from it but realizes that his head is that of a skeleton. Remembering that he chose the skeleton avatar back in his old world, Ark fathoms that if he entered a town without wearing his helmet he'd be treated as a monster. Hence, he plans to try and avoid drawing any attention to himself and teleports to a nearby town. The name of the town is Louviert, and after exploring the place a bit, Ark encounters a woman arguing with an investigator over his failure to obtain the information she hired him for. As it turns out, the woman was an elf, which amazes Ark, but he soon loses sight of her. He, however, then finds the town's mercenary guild and upon entering it, tries to acquire a license. Initially, the male receptionist claims that it'd be pointless for him to get one as he appears to be well employed already due to the armor he's wearing. So, Ark gives an excuse and the receptionist believes it but informs him that before he can get one he'll have to pass a trial. The trial entails that Ark must bring back proof of subjugation of one of three things: a beast, monster, or bandit. Wasting no time, Ark leaves the guild as the receptionist and a fellow guild member conclude Ark's backstory of why he decided to join the guild. Afterward, Ark slays a couple of boars and then an orc. Carrying the proof of subjugation, Ark spots a group of bandits surrounding a carriage who slays the guards and surround a noble lady and her maid. Reflecting on how different the situation is from killing beasts or monsters, the bandits take advantage of the noble lady and her maid. We see again Ark slaying the bandits and this time finishing off the remaining bandits with his wyvern/move. Once the bandits were dealt with, Ark checks upon the two ladies and learns of their names, and when Rita asks if Ark belongs to a noble. Briskly, Ark comes up with a makeshift story of how he's a cursed knight that's on a journey to find a remedy for his condition but withholds that from the two for now. As Rita and Lauren step into the forest to take care of themselves, Ark cremates the bandits' bodies with his fire spell and notes his lack of guilt for killing them all. Before the ladies return, Ark loots the bandits' belongings and uses their horses to carry it all. Heading back to the town, Ark rides parallel to Lauren's carriage driven by Rita, who thanks Ark for what he did, while Lauren makes Ark feel uncomfortable, as he puts it, staring holes into him. Rita then asks for Ark's name and he introduces himself as a humble traveler by the name of Ark. Back at the guild, Ark turns in his subjugated prey and receives a rune stone from the orc that he slew and is advised by the receptionist to remove them whenever you kill a monster. After a brief explanation of what runes can be processed into, Ark is given his license and he immediately checks into an inn and has the food served there delivered to his room. Indulging and imbibing in the food and drinks that he was served, Ark looks forward to completing some quests the following day. A single mother named Siona works hard for her two children, Marka and Helena. She heads to the field every morning as the sun rises. Wanting to help their mother, Marka writes a job request asking for help. Eventually, Ark accepts the job, which entails protecting someone as they collect herbs. He arrives at the job destination called Rada Village and the village's gatekeeper directs him to Siona's home. Arriving at the location, both Marka and her sister Helena were eating breakfast when Ark knocks on the door and Marka answers it. Immediately bewildered by the large presence of Ark, who informs her that he accepted their job posting from the mercenary guild. A brief flashback shows an interaction between the guild receptionist and Ark about the job, and the receptionist suggests Ark be gentle with the client. Back in the present, Ark is served tea and Marka politely asks if they can start immediately, to which Ark accepts, and thus Marka prepares herself for the work ahead. En route to their destination, Ark mentions that the job details mention fanged boars have appeared around the village necessitating protection. Hence, Ark asks why Marka is trying to complete this mission so quickly, and Marka confesses that her mother would be coming home soon and disapprove of what they're doing. She also asks that Ark keep this information from her mother, and goes on to reveal that her father passed away the previous year and that her mother had been raising them by herself. Her mother took it upon herself to take up her father's job to collect herbs, and Marka wants to make her mom happy. The confession impresses and moves Ark's heart, and is resolved to help Marka with her task to collect herbs. In the fields where some herbs called kakra are located, Marka gives Ark a lesson about the plant, which impresses Ark with how knowledgeable she is. Marka then suggests they head to the nearby kabumi tree, but some shaking in the bushes alerts him, and upon investigating it finds a wounded green multi-tailed monster. It bites Ark's finger when he extends a hand, and so Ark then uses healing magic on it to allow it to heal from its wound. Elated, the monster gleefully scurries around Ark and decides to follow him. Marka suggests that Ark name the creature, and after a bit of a naming session, Ark decides on the name of Ponta. Back in the village, a hunter is distraught by something he saw in the forest that wasn't the usual fanged boar that would be normally encountered in the forest. As it so happens, Siona arrives back in the village and hears from the gatekeeper that Marka left for the forest earlier that morning with a knight. Returning to Ark's group, they find the kabumi tree in full bloom, and the moment Marka approaches the tree, a giant basilisk appears from behind it. Noticing Ponta's upset behavior toward the beast, Ark deduces that the one responsible for injuring her was the monster. Before the basilisk could stomp on Marka, Ark briskly pulls her out of the way and then avoids its poison fog breath attacks. Analyzing the basilisk's attacks, while defending against its paralyzing claws and whip-like tongue, Ark then uses his holy shield of tutates to defend against a petrification attack. After this, Ark uses his judgment attack that slices the monster in half, thereby defeating it. Happy that the monster was defeated, Marka notes that the villagers will celebrate the monster's death, but Ark requests that it be kept a secret, and Marka understands. Ark then notices a ring around the monster's right ankle that disappears moments after it was spotted. It's deduced by Ark that the fanged boars that appeared close by the village were drawn there by the basilisk. As it so happens, one appears before them, and Ark slays it and presents it as a gift to the village, but notes he'd take the boar's fangs and rune stone as payment. He also intends that the hide be tanned and given to Marka, and the meat would be divided among the villagers. Marka then reunites with her mother Siona, who embraces her daughter, and Ark formally apologizes to Siona for recklessly allowing her daughter to go into the forest. The village gatekeeper and hunter then approach Ark and ask him if he ran into the monster that was wreaking havoc in the forest, but he denies it, as does Marka. By dusk, Ark and Ponta get ready to leave, and Ark is given a circlet of flowers by Helena. Later that night within the forest, a large group of soldiers slay a giant basilisk of their own. The leader is given a status report of the total number of deceased and injured soldiers by his subordinate, and about how a single person managed to slay a giant basilisk by themselves. Amazed by this feat, the leader surmises that the one who slew it must be either a god or devil. Meanwhile, Ark enjoys himself in his room with Ponta and considers taking on a more challenging quest the next day.